Welcome to Mainland, your local regional television station. I'm Graham O'Brien, and some of the stories coming up in our Nelson Tasman Regional News Roundup. Nick Smith, Jane Kelsey and Winston Peters talk Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement. Big changes at the museum, bachelors get the birds and more. Protesters are taking to the streets around the country this weekend over New Zealand Government's planned signing of the TPPA. Questions whether the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement is in New Zealand's best interest are still persisting, although the text has been released. Opponents of the agreement are saying that the negotiations, which are still to be kept secret for another 6 years, need to be released also. Nelson MP Nick Smith spoke with Chrissy Small about the investor states dispute settlement, one of the controversial clauses in the TPPA text.
TPP.
Oh, that's a bit controversial.
Okay, well it is, especially all over New Zealand. People are up in arms, and so I've got a few questions here.
Sure.
The majority of investor-state disputes have challenged governments, the regulations of natural resources. If a future New Zealand government regulated in the country's best interest, can you give 100% a guarantee that New Zealand could never be sued by an investor from a TPP country through the disputes set up in the agreement?
What I can give the reassurance is that you can never guarantee anybody. For instance, I can't guarantee that you won't get sued because someone takes offence at your flower on your dress. Right, I can't give you an absolute assurance. That would be bloody stupid. Right, it's a quite nice flower. I think you look lovely. But someone might take offence. So can you give a guarantee that someone might sue? Of course you can. Are the rules, here's the real trick, here's the real question. Are the rules in the TPP around investor disputes something for New Zealand to fear? And my answer is absolutely not. We have had those provisions in trade agreements for 20 years, and there has not been ever a case against New Zealand. Why does it matter? Why do we have these rules? Well, what you need is that sometimes what will happen is that governments behave badly. Now, if I give an example where real impact. If you take a successful company, of which I'm very proud of in this town, is Sealord. Sealord invested very substantially in fisheries development in Argentina. And the government of Argentina treated them very badly. That cost that company money. And my view is that when governments behave badly, and the very purpose of international rules is to ensure that those commerce is done internationally on fair rules. And I could give you another example. Take the New Zealand Superannuation Fund. This is money, your taxpayers' money, my taxpayers' money. The government has set aside to meet the higher cost of superannuation when we all get a bit grey, closer than what we think. Now, the superannuation trustees invested that money overseas. They received a guarantee from a government that if a bank went broke, they would make sure that money was paid. And then that government changed the rules and ratted on that. This is real. This is $100 million of New Zealanders' money that was lost as a consequence of not having these sorts of investor disputes. If we had those with that country, in this case it's Portugal, if we had those sorts of rules, we would have a stronger opportunity to be able to recover that $100 million that belongs to New Zealand. So that's why these rules are there. They are not to be feared. As Environment Minister, I have absolutely no concerns that the TPP is going to restrict New Zealand's capacity to responsibly manage its environment, to make rules. The key part of TPP, though, is that those rules need to apply equally to companies.
Mainland asked Professor of Law Jane Kelsey for her comments. Can you please tell us the status of the negotiations at the moment? We're being told that it's all been agreed and signed and that it's basically a done deal.
Yeah, I'm rather stunned that the ongoing either lack of understanding or lack of accurate representation of the state of things to the public by politicians. The terms of the agreement have been concluded, and that was at the ministerial meeting in Atlanta. They're still finalising the technical texts. They've released one subject to any further refinements that needs to be done. But President Obama had to give 90 days notice before the agreement can actually be signed. And he gave that notice on the 5th of November, which means the agreement won't be signed until at least the 5th of February, or at least not by the US, and we're assuming no one else will do it. And until it's signed, there is no formal indication that New Zealand or any of the other 11 countries has given that it intends to be bound by the content in the future. So that means we've got 3 months basically to analyse what they have put out there and to convince the government that the political costs are too high, which I believe they are from having read a lot of the text.
Sure. And I heard recently that you're asking for the background negotiations to be released as well, that are still being kept secret for another 4 years, so that we can make some understanding of the text that is being released.
Well, I applied for a series of New Zealand-related documents back in January from the Minister. The Minister responded with a no without having actually looked at any documents. He just said, I know that none of them can be released. And unfortunately, the Chief Ombudsman, who has to review that decision before we could go to court, took around 5 months to do so, despite requests for urgency. We went to court, a number of entities, including Consumer New Zealand, Ngāti Kahungunu, Oxfam, Greenpeace, Association of Salaried Medical Specialists, and so on, and got a directive to the Minister to reconsider the request. And in fact, I just received the day before yesterday his response, which is a further attempt to delay dealing with the release of the documents. Now, the problem about not having the documents is, firstly, we need them to be able to understand what's behind some of the opaque text there, because some of it's quite vague in its wording. But we also need it to be able to hold our government to account for what they fought over and what they didn't fight. In addition, we need to convince our Minister to go back to the other parties and revoke the secrecy pact that they agreed when the negotiations began some 5 years ago. And there they said all of their background documents in the negotiations themselves would be kept secret, aside from the final text, for a period of 4 years beyond when the agreement comes into force. So that's 6 years from now before we get to see them. And that is all intolerable in a democracy. And ironically, the newly announced negotiations between New Zealand and the EU will have to release much more information. So it's not that it's always done that way. They've chosen the shroud of secrecy, and it needs to be taken down.
Thanks, Jane. Just quickly, we've had our MP Nick Smith, the Minister of the Environment, come on, and he says he can't guarantee that we won't be sued, but we have nothing to fear from the investor-states dispute settlement. 20 years has never been a case against us, and he's using the examples of sea lords in Argentina and Portugal with the superannuation fund as an example of why we should have this. Can I have some comments about that from you, please?
Yes, well, to claim that New Zealand won't face disputes in the future because we haven't faced any so far is unreal. Australia could have said that before it faced the plain packaging dispute. So could Germany before it faced the dispute around the closure of the nuclear power plants and some of the anti-climate change measures that they've adopted. So what we're seeing is an exponential increase in the number of these disputes over the last decade, but especially over the last 5 years. And no country can presume that it is going to be safe from the kind of adventurism we're seeing now with not only investors but with private equity funds actually buying people's potential claims, running them for them, and then paying some of the share of the outcome to the original real people with a grievance. But in relation to the examples that the Minister gives, a number of the instances where New Zealand is complaining are either investments where we should have been aware that there were potential problems with those investments, and in those cases no investment is risk-free, and if you conceive there is a risk, then you take out risk insurance, like any other sensible person does. You insure against risks. Or in a number of instances, they involve, either in Europe or countries like Argentina, financial crises or other situations where governments simply have to be free to move in situations of emergency. And I think given the fragility of the New Zealand economy, including the financial system with the risks that are now emerging with rural debt as well as household debt and housing debt, we need to make sure that we have that space available as well, not risk being subject to investment disputes by notoriously litigious investors from the US and other TPPA countries.
Jane, thanks very much for your time. I'll let you get back to all your marking of exams. Winston Peters is another who has spoken out strongly against the TPPA. How can we get out of the TPP?
You can't get out of the TPP, excepting, I think, contrary to what is being said, I think it's got a long way to run. The Canadian elections the other day turned the government out. Harper's government fell, the new Trudeau government may well be thinking differently of it. There are a whole lot of aspects which are not of that 6,000 pages which are not clear. What was astonishing is the number, I might tell you, of your metropolitan media colleagues who came out and said they supported it. The Paul Henrys of this world, the other guy on the other channel, Hoskins, he said he supported it, which is fascinating because he must be clairvoyant. He didn't know one thing about what was in it, yet he said he supported it. Now, you know, it's an old English saying, only a fool tests the water with both feet. So we're going over those 6,000 pages, but our position has been from day one. We're not offering any support to something we have not seen, and when we've read it properly, we'll then make it very clear where we stand. But if it's against our sovereignty, and if it's against the right of New Zealand government to make decisions on behalf of the voters of this country, who after all put them in there in the first place, then we will make a stand against it. Now, just one thing. Mr. Grosser said, you recall, about 2 years ago, when he was asked, what's in it for us, he said, $5 billion a year extra to GDP by the year 2025. That was a categoric lie. The best estimate now is 2.7 billion by 2030. And you know, when you're dealing with those sorts of figures, it's all pie in the sky stuff. Honestly. Now, it happens to be the two of the leading economies in the world are Switzerland and Norway. What deals are they tied up with? Well, actually, none. You can go it alone if you take institutions like the one I saw today, use the people's resources, sell quality products, and have a better economic and saving strategy. You can do far better than we're doing now.
A nationwide protest is taking place this Saturday, the 14th of November. Nelson Provincial Museum is currently undergoing a few changes, with a couple of new exhibitions on the horizon. The Rembrandt exhibition about to end, and the biggest change to date is the impending change of our Nelson Provincial Museum CEO. Chrissy Small met with the incoming CEO, Lucinda Blackley-Jimson, this week.
Lucinda, welcome to Nelson, and you're the new CEO of the Nelson Provincial Museum. Tell us a wee bit about your background.
Right, well, I've been in museums for getting on for 20 years now, which is making me feel my age. I started off in museums at Auckland Museum and worked there from around 1997 for around 7 years. And we were developing all the museum from the top down, so it was a really exciting period of a great deal of change. And I moved from there to Te Papa, where I worked in the exhibition team and led the interpretation unit at Te Papa, and worked on a great number of both permanent and touring exhibitions, including the Wales to Hora exhibition, which has been going around the world for quite a few years now.
Right. Lucinda, you've got such a great background for the job, and as Peter did as well. We're sad to lose him, but it looks like you're going to fill his boots.
I hope so. I've got very big boots to fill in terms of stepping into what Peter has done. He's left us in a fantastic position. It's going to be a really exciting journey with the next steps of New Zealand's oldest museum.
Right. And so when do you officially take over, and what plans do you have in the pipeline?
Well, this is my first week, but I'm still completing the move from Auckland. I've been working at MOTAP for the last couple of years, where one of our new exhibitions won Most Innovative Use of Te Reo Māori at the New Zealand Museum Awards earlier this year. So moving down from Auckland, we've brought a house out in Redwood Valley, my husband and I, and we're in the process of moving there. So I'll be in here full time from the 30th of November.
That's going to be quite a change from Auckland to Redwood Valley.
I'm really looking forward to it. It's a beautiful place there. I'm really looking forward to Nelson as well, with all the water, the fishing, when we're going to get a boat, and really looking forward to getting to know the country.
Great. Well, we've got the best weather, and we're trying to keep it a good secret, but people are slowly catching on.
As I understand from some of the real estate agents at Auckland, a lot of Aucklanders are coming down here.
Yeah.
So, yes, hopefully not too many of us. We don't want to spoil the place.
I think everyone adds their own little bit. So, I think Nelson is growing, and it's a good place to grow. And, of course, the museum. The museum is a perfect place, being the oldest in the country. It's going to be a great place for you to be based, and I'm sure that you're going to bring some delightful exhibitions through and some new innovative bits and pieces to our little province.
Oh, Nelson's a really exciting community, very art-focused, very exciting and growing, obviously, and really want to bring that into the museum as well. So we've got a lot of work to do, but a really exciting phase.
What do you think so far? Because you've got the museum here in Nelson, and then you've got the Isle House facility, or the Isle Park facility.
Yeah, so that's going to be a really interesting split. Obviously, the facilities at Isle Park need a lot of work, so that's going to be a major focus in terms of really what we can do for the collection and how we can preserve it and protect it and make it accessible for the public.
Right, because there's been a lot of it put online, not all of it, but as it's being archived and digitally archived, that is available for people through the internet.
Absolutely, which is a fantastic development, and it's a long process, and it does take a long time to do. They've made fantastic progress so far, but we really want to make that collection accessible for all of New Zealand through the internet, not just the local community, and throughout the world as well.
And it's also about preserving them, because some of those things, they deteriorate over time, don't they?
They do, and so it's really about preserving them as much as possible for the future, while maintaining access for the public to come and visit them, to come and connect with them, and to find out all about them. So online is a wonderful tool to do that.
Well, Lucinda, look, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm sure you're just going to love being in Nelson and being part of the community here. We are a nice community,
I'm loving it already. Everyone has been so friendly. It's just been delightful.
Lovely. Thank you. Peter Millwood, you'll be leaving us soon, and obviously we've got the new CEO, but you've got a few exciting things to be talking about before you leave. Can you tell us about how the Rembrandt exhibition's been going and what's coming up?
Sure, happy to do so, Chrissy, and I just have to say as an intro how much I've enjoyed working with the team from Mainland. It's been really fun over recent years. Well, for starters, the Rembrandt exhibition finishes on Sunday, and as of last night, I'm told by staff we've had just on 5,000 visitors through the front door, the bulk of whom have seen the exhibition. But here's the amazing thing, I think that's a really poor number. There are 80,000 people in this region who can visit this exhibition of artwork, of images from Rembrandt, free. And we're still getting dozens of people arriving at the door saying, "Oh, I live in Stoke, how much do I have to pay to see the Rembrandt?" Well, we've been free for locals in this museum for the last 3.5 years, and I just don't know what we have to do to get the word out there. But this is a unique opportunity. They are wonderful, wonderful images. Half of them are here at the Nelson Provincial Museum. The other half are at the Suter Art Gallery down opposite the library. And locals, you've only got till 5 o'clock on Sunday, and these prints will disappear. They will never come back to Nelson again. So this is a truly unique opportunity. Now, you're asking what's happening, what's coming up next. Well, I've got 2 exhibitions that I'm helping to project manage here, and they are really different. The first of them is called Women of Empire, and it's part of the World War I story, but it's focused specifically on the stories of 30 Australian and New Zealand women and their contributions both in the field of medicine and nursing at the war, but also their work at home, fundraising, knitting, cooking, doing parcels, writing letters, just the whole range. One of the stories is of a Nelson Tasman woman, Mary Newlove from Takaka, and hers is a tragic story. And I won't give you any more detail than that, but Women of Empire is going to open on the 1st of December and run right through December and January. Now the second thing that we're opening very soon is Mirror Magic. And Mirror Magic's been here before, about 7 years ago, just before I arrived, in fact. It comes from Te Manawa Museum in Palmerston North. It's hands-on, interactive, and it's really we decided to take it on because we wanted to have something that would be really good for families over the summer. And I think Mirror Magic will do the trick. There's some really, really fun exhibits, so we want to see really good numbers.
Peter Milvold, it sounds like it's going to be an exciting summer for the Provincial Museum, and of course you may be leaving the position, but you're not leaving the region.
Well, no, you're dead right. I'm looking forward to enjoying a summer where I don't have to go to work on a Monday morning. I'm helping to project manage some exhibitions over the next few months, but basically retirement beckons, and my wife and I, Myra and I, are looking forward very much to walking in the beach and in the bush, and it's going to be lovely.
The bachelor lifestyle of the few remaining wild male kaka in the Abel Tasman National Park changed dramatically last Thursday with the release of 4 female birds. Project Jan Zoon's ornithologist Pete Gaze said the extensive predator control in the park over the last few years will give the large parrots a good chance to successfully breed. The female kaka came from existing captive populations and were raised in Te Anau, Dunedin and Invercargill. The 4 kaka have been fitted with radio transmitters and will be closely monitored over the coming months. Project Jan Zoon is also supporting a kaka breeding program to complement the existing captive breeding programs, with DOC collecting kaka chicks and eggs from the Nelson Lakes National Park. The Nelson region turned on the weather and the people turned out in their thousands to meet and greet the visiting Royal Highnesses Prince Charles and Camilla Duchess of Cornwall on Saturday morning. Chrissy Small was there to catch the action.
I was there with a camera and caught much of the action as the royals were officially greeted by dignitaries which included local iwi representatives, Nelson Mayor Rachel Rees and Molly from the Ngāti Rārua, who came over to be part of the royal meet and greet from Blenheim. The Prince was in fine humour and appeared to show an interest in those he briefly met as he walked down one side of Trafalgar Street, leaving his wife the Duchess to walk the other.
After the break, we'll bring you the latest weather update and some events and happenings coming up from around the region.
Edward Gibbon, the bathroom specialist, have a great range of bathroom ideas at their showroom at 23 McGlashan Ave in Richmond. Call in and check out some of the latest bathroom designs and fittings. Edward Gibbon, the bathroom plumbing and drainage supply specialist, 23 McGlashan Ave, Richmond.
Why would you want to pay as much as $1,000 for a single bed mattress when you can buy a high quality locally made mattress like this for as little as $2 $220. And a queen size mattress could cost you in excess of $3,000, but at Nelson Beds you could have a mattress like this as low as $425. So why would you go out and spend a fortune on your child's bedroom when you can come to Nelson Beds and buy a complete single mattress and base set, a 7-drawer Scotch chest, a headboard and a 3-drawer bedside cabinet for as little as $979. So call and discuss our custom manufacturing options and local after sales service at Nelson Beds, Nelson's only bedding manufacturer.
Welcome to Smugglers Pub and Cafe, open 7 days a week with free parking all day. Our lunch menus have that fat old-fashioned flavour where we treat you like treasure with the food you'll savour.
We cater for children, grannies and granddads too, with special rates and privileges given to the elderly lunchtime crew. Our staff are friendly and kind and want to see you all come back time after time.
Daytime or evening, it doesn't matter. Give us a call on 546 4084 and we'll be happy to spoil ya.
We're the team at JCar, right here in Nelson, 120 Hardy Street. Our shop is full of electronic items,
including security alarm systems, electronic components,
solar and power,
electronics toys,
sound systems, cables, and much, much more. JCar.
120 Hardy Street, Nelson.
Sit and Be Fit is on at the Victory Community Centre Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. at the Victory Community Church, 238 Upper Vanguard Street. On behalf of the team here at Mainland Television News, thank you for joining us.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.
Hi everyone, I'm Malcolm Harris from the Facilitators. We now look after sales for Mainland TV, radio, Sky and online. New Zealand On Air's latest Colmar Brunton survey confirms Mainland's large multimedia audience. If you're in business or want to put a message out to everyone in the Nelson Tasman region, plus nationwide on Sky or worldwide online, please give me a call or see our website at www.mainlandtv.nz.
Welcome me hearties to Smugglers Pub and Cafe, famous for hearty meals, craft ales and a friendly service way. Sensational seasonal menus with meals all day and evening too, or sail in for a snack with special menus for young smugglers and you. Settle in for a jolly old time, relax and enjoy our award-winning dining and lovely fine wine. Decked out in an old worldly way, we're open 7 days. Book or come on in to 8 Muritai Street, not far from a beach walk or swim. Phone 546408.
Why would you want to pay as much as $1,000 for a single bed mattress when you can buy a high quality locally made mattress like this for as little as $220? And a queen size mattress could cost you in excess of $3,000, but at Nelson Beds you could have a mattress like this as low as $425. So why would you go out and spend a fortune on your child's bedroom when you can come to Nelson Beds and buy a complete single mattress and base set, a 7-drawer Scotch chest, a headboard and a 3-drawer bedside cabinet for as little as $979? So call and discuss our custom manufacturing options and local after sales service at Nelson Beds, Nelson's only bedding manufacturer.
Edward Gibbon, the bathroom specialists, have a great range of bathroom ideas at their showroom at 23 McGlashan Ave in Richmond. Call in and check out some of the latest bathroom designs and fittings. Edward Gibbon, the bathroom plumbing and drainage supply specialists, 23 McGlashan Ave, Richmond.